Hi guys, welcome to the Art of Healing podcast. I'm your host Pearls.
And I'm Paris.
And today we've got a lovely request from one of our lovely followers who's asked us to talk about what to do when you're following your life's purpose and you feel stuck and how to deal with the self-doubt that creeps in.
So that's what we're going to be getting into today. But before we jump into that, let's just ground ourselves and do some deep breaths. So if you can, close your eyes. Obviously, if you can't, don't. You just do the breathing part. So we're just going to go in through the nose, inhale, exhale through the mouth, a sigh. Just tuning into our bodies, how we're feeling. Slow inhale. And exhale through the mouth. This last one, really breathe into your belly. Slow inhale. A little bit more. And exhale with a sigh. There we go. Breathing is life. Life is breathing. So yeah, this is a bit of a topic that's a little close to home, I'd say.
Yeah.
And it's something that we are consistently dealing with. And we've also learned that it's natural, which has been, I guess, a bit of a signpost or a bit of relief in its sense. Because I guess when we are trying to change anything, to coin the term, the little C or the big C, it doesn't matter how big the change is. Mm-hmm. You got to break down what change means to the nervous system. Everything that you're used to doing, which is habitual to you, is in your comfort zone. It's within your capacity, within your nervous system, right? Anything outside of that circle, let's call it, is outside. So to the nervous system, what's outside of your comfort zone spells what? Danger, right?
Yeah.
So when you're pushing yourself, when you're trying to change, no matter how big or small, you're activating the sympathetic part of your nervous system. You're putting your body into survival. You're putting your body into stress. You're putting your body into, I don't know if this is safe for me. I need to survive. I need to overcome this thing. I need to keep you safe.
And then comes in the anxiety, the self-doubt.
Yeah.
The alarm bells start going off.
And that's the thing. These things, these the self-doubts, the beliefs, the thoughts and the feelings that we have from the action that maybe we're not even taking, we're thinking about taking, is actually your body's way of trying to, yes, in a way, stop you from doing it, but only because it's trying to keep you safe. Not because it doesn't want you to do better, because it doesn't understand that, hey, I want to start going to the gym 3 times a week to get fitter. I want to go for a run every day in the morning to get fitter. I want to start eating healthier rather than ordering from Uber Eats every night. The body doesn't understand these things. The body just hears this isn't what we're used to, and I don't like change, so let's not do that. So it isn't trying to stop you from being great. It's just trying to keep you safe because it doesn't know that these things are actually beneficial, right?
Yeah, because a lot of the time when you're doing something new, you're stepping into the unknown and your nervous system is like, hey, what the heck is this?
What's over there?
What's over there? What's this? I don't know. But also when you're stepping into the unknown, there's a lot of uncertainties, which is what we've learned. There's a lot of, I don't know what this is. I don't know where this is coming from. Hey, I've got to develop a new skill now. Yeah. I'm trying something new. And a lot of the time what happens is you start to feel overwhelmed, or you might feel like, hey, I don't know if I can do this. A lot of uncomfortable feelings come up because you are trying something new. You're going into the unknown. Yeah. So naturally what's going to happen is you're going to feel these emotions. They are going to come up for you, and your body's going to think, I think you're starting to feel a little bit overwhelmed now, so let's pack it in.
Yeah.
And then the anxiety creeps in, the self-doubt creeps in, the alarm bells start going off, and all of a sudden you're thinking, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe I don't need to do this. Maybe I should just stay at home. Maybe I'll just order in. I
just won't take the action that I said I was going to take this morning. That to-do list that I said I was going to start this week, nah.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes. But it's, it's about, I guess, first and foremost, recognizing when you do feel that way and understanding what it means. It's actually a sign that you are pushing yourself, which is great. But what we have to realize is those emotions are going to come up. I think we assume that at some point in our life, we'll get to this place where things don't affect us anymore, and we are super confident and we do have high self-esteem and we are super brave. Bravery, for example, we think bravery is a state of being. Bravery is just you consistently having the ability to overcome fear. That's what bravery is. You need the fear to exist for you to be brave in the first place. And it goes for everything else. It's just our action and our decisions when these things come up for us and what we do to manage and navigate it. So, You know, we look at, say, big business, you know, CEOs, people at the top flight of athleticism, the Olympics and things like that. And we think, oh, like, they, you know, they must be able to perform and do what they do, and they never have these feelings, and I'll get to that point sometimes. No, they have probably more than us, because they've got more pressure, more things to deal with, more things at stake. Go on.
I mean, all you got to do is look at the England football team.
Yeah, great example. Arguably some of the best football players in the world,
but like, bottled it.
When it comes to football, bottled it. But yeah, and it's because humans have emotions. We're meant to feel these things. It's about managing them and distilling them, and not putting like our journey on this pedestal of like, once I get there, I'll be able to do X, and realizing that no, you can do that now. You just need to manage how you're feeling and understand that it is just a process of feeling it.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, like a lot of the time when you're, say, for example, starting a business or you're starting something new, because there's so much unknown, you think we're conditioned to work in environments and be in environments where everything is the same day.
Yeah.
Every day is the same, sorry. So for example, you go to work, you're not stressed because of the job that you have to do, because most of the time the job that most people have to do is actually very repetitive. You know what you're doing. It's the same thing in and out. Yeah. It's not anything new. What's stressful is the environment, right? So if you're not in that environment and you're actually trying something absolutely new, there's lots of unknowns. You don't know what you're doing when you go to work the next day. Or even if you plan it, there's a lot of unknowns. Like for us, this is something we experienced. Like we have so many hiccups, so many problems. And I think as well, there's the added worry of like, hey, where is money going to come from? Where is this going to come from? And we put so much worth on like metrics, like money, engagement, things like that. When actually that doesn't equal your worth.
They're byproducts
exactly
of the process of what you're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
exactly. Like you said, it's not equal your worth, but we put it there. You know, it's like the money, fame, and power.
And exactly. And you think that, oh, I'm not achieving this, or it's not going the way that I want. So this means that I shouldn't be doing this, but that's not the case. Because you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're following what you feel like doing, what you desire to do. And that's what's more important.
And that's a privilege. You know, a lot of people are stuck doing that job that is routine, and it's because it creates safety. You've got to think about the 9 to 5, what it provides people. It provides you with a consistent wage. It provides you with arguably a safe job. It depends what you do these days. I would argue that it's the most unsafe job you could do. But anyway, a different topic for a different time. But traditionally, it's, you know, a steady wage, you know what your job is, and it's consistent. So it creates that safety that your nervous system needs, because whether you like it or not, money is attached to our survival in the modern world. You need money to eat, you need money to sleep, you need money for the roof that you have over your head if you're fortunate enough to do so. Money is attached to our survival. So if we have that, oh, money's going to come every month, however much it is, I just know I need to go do this thing and it's all outlined for me, and the outcome is money. Most people aren't in their jobs for anything other than that.
That's why most people don't leave their jobs. That's why most people don't try something new. It's because they're comfortable. And the idea of doing something like leaving work to start a business, like leaving work to start something that you're passionate about is...
Why would I do that?
It's scary, isn't it? It's like, hey, where am I going to... I remember years ago, I used to do door-to-door sales, and it was commission-based. And that didn't really mean anything to me, because it's like my second job. So I was just like, oh, cool. I walk around, I talk to people, I get paid. It didn't really occur to me that like, oh, if you don't sign people up, that you wouldn't get paid. That didn't really occur to me. But there was people who had other jobs, who had more experience in the workforce, who came into that job. And if they didn't sell on a particular day, they would think, oh my gosh, I've just wasted a whole day. I've not been paid. Where am I going to get money for this from? And then obviously there was stress. That stress is going into the next day and the next day and the next day. And then it's affecting their performance. Whereas like me, for example, I didn't really understand. I didn't really think like, oh, if I don't sell on one day that I couldn't, I just think, oh, I'll just make up another day, because there's no limit on how many people you can sign up. Right,
which is the right way to think about it.
But a lot of people were really triggered by the fact that like, if they didn't sell on a day, and it would turn into this cycle of stress. And I guess that's similar to like what happens when you're running your own business or you're following your own purpose. Say, for example, you know, if you're doing social media and you decide, actually, you know, I want to be a UGC creator or an influencer of some sort, and you're posting out, you've left your job to do it, you're posting out content regularly, but your engagement is low, you're going to think, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. My worth is attached to like how many people are seeing my video or engaging with my stuff.
What am I doing? Is it right? Like, obviously not. There's loads of questions that come with it, because like we're built on this society of instant gratification.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything is an instant. I get paid in an instant. I get food in an instant. I get likes in an instant. Like everything is boom, 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 boom. I need it right here and right now. Where it's like, you got to look at life in general, not just in a business sense or your career or healing. All these things is like you plant the seeds, but you don't reap what you sow on that day, do you? It takes time to grow these things. It takes time to grow your life's purpose. It takes time to grow that healthy habit. It takes time to change your diet. It takes time to get fit. These things, like, we have to actually, if you break it down, it's actually insane that we think that if I just do something once, then it's going to change my life. It has to be consistent. And it's especially when it comes to healing, it has to be consistent. Like, we find these new trends and these hot topics and practices that have just come out. We think, oh, I'll try that. It feels a little bit better momentarily for however long we keep up with it. And then we stop. And then we go back to where we was. We don't feel any better, really. We haven't healed. And it's not because the practice doesn't work. It's because you haven't carried on working it.
Lack of consistency.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the results or whatever it was, you felt good for a bit and it's like, I've got what I needed, and you stop. And it's like we turn to healing practices mostly when we feel bad or when like things are hard in our life, where it's like, no, this is the problem. The healing methods, practices that you do, it isn't a habit. It should be a lifestyle.
A lifestyle, yeah.
It's something that you bring in. It's something that you do daily because it's part of your life, you know? You don't just rely on it when times are tough. You rely on it throughout your life so that when the times that are tough do arise, you're already prepared for that.
Yeah. You know, an example of this is we've recorded many podcast episodes. This isn't our first podcast. We had another one years ago. And we are regular recorders of podcasts. Like, we can do it quite comfortably, but we still get nervous or like a little bit like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit anxious or a little bit sweaty.
Sweaty armpits.
This happens to us regularly.
Yeah.
So what do we always do before we're doing a podcast? We take some deep breaths. We might do a shake. We emotionally regulate and regulate how we're feeling, regulate our bodies so that we can show up in the best way possible. And I think that's important to remember when you are doing these things that are going to make you feel uncomfortable because you're making change in your life. Again, whether it's big C or little c, it doesn't matter what you're doing, is you've got to emotionally regulate yourself.
100%.
And, you know, sometimes it can be as simple as just taking some deep breaths and telling yourself, no, I'm going to do this. I can do this. I can achieve this. Or sometimes maybe you want to stand up and do a shake. That's something that we do quite regularly as well, because it will bring you back into yourself and make you realize, no, actually, I can do this. I do feel able to do this, and I can achieve what I want to achieve.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. I think it's about, excuse me, recognizing when we feel or think a certain way, when we're being triggered, let's call it, catching those moments, and then, like you said, bringing the emotional regulation in whatever that looks like in that moment to come back to center, come back to groundedness, and then you take the action. Excuse me. Usually what we do is we have the feeling and we either don't take action because of the feeling, or we push through with the feeling, but we haven't addressed the feeling. So all right, you've done the thing, but to your nervous system, that's been through force. It's your nervous system still doesn't like the idea of it.
Yeah.
So what happens when you do it again? It's the same feeling, right? And that's not to say, okay, we're going to record a podcast for the first time. That feeling comes up, we address it, we do the breathing. Next time we're going to do it and we're going to feel fabulous. It's going to be amazing. It's a process. But like from the first time we did this, maximum sweat, to now, minimum sweat. And that's what you got to do. It's training your nervous system that, hey, this thing seems scary, but it isn't. And actually, I trust you. Just trust me. We've got this together and we'll get through it.
Yeah, it's about building capacity within yourself and widening like your window of tolerance to be able to manage your emotions when they do come up for you in these situations. You know, something that I've really struggled with for probably a very long time is I have a lot of clothes that I probably should get rid of or sell because there's a lot of them. I could probably open a shop, but the task of even sorting through them it's been so overwhelming for me. It's been like an ongoing process because like the feeling of doing it is like, oh, I don't want to address it. And what happens is that the clothes are still there, but I've not got any further with them because every time I go and recently we started to go through the stuff. Paris helped me a little bit. And what did I have to do? I had to like realize how I was feeling. Oh, okay, I feel overwhelmed. Why do I feel overwhelmed? Where do I feel it in my body? How can I manage this? And it's again getting comfortable with the uncomfortable feeling, and you know, just realizing and regulating yourself, being like, hey, it's okay to feel this way, but we got this. We can do it. And, you know, progress is being made slowly but surely, but, it happens to the best of us.
Yeah. And I think really it's just about reframing it. Like whenever you do feel overwhelmed or you feel these emotions that are coming up for you that, let's say, are a bit heavier than you'd like them to be, it's about realizing that, this is because I'm changing. This is because I'm growing. And it's like really, when it comes to facing these obstacles or these challenges, even reframing that, actually what they are is opportunities.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have them, you'd be staying the same and you wouldn't be going further down that path that you're walking, which isn't the idea, right? We want to constantly be growing, constantly getting better, constantly, doing whatever it is that we're doing. So it's like checking in with ourselves, reminding ourselves that it's normal to feel this way. In fact, this is a signpost of what I'm doing is the right thing. I'm growing. This is an opportunity, not an obstacle. And then doing the regulation to reframe, hey, this is actually okay. We're going to be safe. This isn't dangerous. Let's get there together. And then taking the action.
Yeah. And just remembering that, when you are starting something new, whether it's a business or something you're passionate about, whether it's a passion project, whatever, it is normal to feel the way that you're feeling because you are stepping into the unknown. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to see, like, for example, we can plan what we're going to be doing with Tao for the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, but we can't actually make that happen in the way that we're seeing it. So many times that we've started stuff, and for example, a year ago where we thought would be X place with Tao, mm-hmm. but we've ended up somewhere slightly different.
In Y place.
and we've ended up in Y place. But that's what happens. It's because you're stepping into the unknown. As long as you're being consistent, mm-hmm. you're doing the right things, you're following your passions, and you're doing it in the correct way, you're going to end up where you're supposed to be.
And this is the thing, that if you're following your path, then it might already be outlined for you, but it isn't for you to outline. It's for you to put a foot in front of the other every day and just follow it. When you try and plan and control it, that's predictable. That's you trying to control the outcome. That's you trying to, I need to know this because it's going to make me feel safe and I'll feel better when I know that if I do this and that and this, it's going to end up being whatever it is that you're trying to go to. But the thing is, that's actually what's stopping you from getting there. That's causing stress. That's causing you to be in this fight or flight. That's causing you to have all the worries and the fears and I can't do this. It's about surrendering to all that.
Yeah.
Just trusting that you know what to do, doing it, and also remaining flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think as well, for us, that's happened to us so many times where we've planned for something to be a particular way and then it's gone a completely different way. It still ended up really great, but just not the way that we thought.
Yeah.
And I used to, years ago when I was in high school, sixth form, I had a 5-year plan. I used to have a 5-year plan. Mm-hmm. That I'd go over every year.
What's your 5-year plan?
What's your 5-year plan? So if you asked me what your 5-year plan, I could give you that answer. Nice. I was one of those people that had the answer to that. Uh-huh. And the funny thing was, the 5-year plan that I'd created never happened. It never happened. It was something that I would revisit regularly, but it never happened. It didn't happen even close to how I thought it was going to happen. I've ended up somewhere completely different, on a completely different path, doing a completely different thing. And you know what? I don't have a 5-year plan anymore. I haven't had a 5-year plan since I realized the 5-year plan does not happen the way that you want it to happen. No. You can't control it.
No.
You can outline, you can, like you said, you can plan, but it won't always happen the way that you think and want it to happen.
And that's the importance. I think it's about having a clear vision of where you want to go, but knowing that the journey there isn't going to be predictable, isn't going to be something that you can know for definite. And accepting that.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you'll get to where you want to go. It might not even look like you said, how you envisioned it, but it'll probably be where you're meant to be.
Yeah.
So it's a process.
And don't listen to the voices.
Yeah, and I think that is true. The thing
don't listen to the voices.
Don't listen to them because they're liars. Most of the thoughts in your head.
It's your nervous system just showing up as doubt, anxiety, and all these other people. All these other emotions, even.
These people and these things.
People with these voices. Yeah. Don't listen to them.
They're liars. You know the truth. If you didn't know the truth, you wouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
Facts. But yeah, and I know we've spoken context a lot about, I guess, business. That's just because in our own experience, that's what we can relate to. But it does, like we said, apply to the big C and the little c. Really, any change that you make, no matter how big or small, is going to bring up these emotions and these feelings. But the tool, like we said, is simple. Make sure you're constantly checking in with yourself. Remind yourself that it's okay to feel these feelings. Feel it. Ground yourself and then take the action. And you can do this before or after the task as well. If you know something is usually quite triggering for you, then you can address these things before it even comes up from yourself and set the intention. How do I want to do for us this podcast? How do I want it to be? And this is, again, having that conversation with your body and your nervous system to let it know, hey, I'm prepared to do this thing. It's safe for us to do this, and we've got each other.
Yeah, so self-soothing is really important on this journey, and regulating yourself and having those conversations with yourself, because when you start doing it, you realize, oh, actually just saying that to myself has actually made a really big difference. Telling myself it's going to be okay. You don't need to worry about it. Just crack on. You got this.
Like, other people might think you are, but we're not going to think you're crazy if you speak to yourself. It can be out loud or in your mind. Trust me.
I mean, I read it was a sign of intelligence. So,
well, this is the thing, but it is important. I don't think a lot of us have that internal dialogue of like, oh, I've had this thought, and then you can talk back to it, and you can say. And I think a really great way of framing it is every time that you have these thoughts that, let's say, going against you, or these feelings that are going against you. Imagine that is a child. Would you fight these thoughts or feelings, or would you be like, it's okay to feel that way?
Exactly.
Like, that's fine. Listen, you're not silly. You're not stupid. You can do this. It's about just changing the way that you're speaking to yourself and realizing that actually, let me speak to myself as if I was the child, and the whole thing will change. You'll start supporting yourself, and you'll realize like you'll start growing through these things. So yeah, that's my hot tip for today. But yeah, is there anything else?
No, I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, amazing. So thank you so much for sending in that question. Go on.
No, you were going to say it. Go on.
If anyone else has any more questions or anything else they'd like us to cover, we do announce this on our TikTok lives and on our stories quite often. But in case you've missed it, send us a message. We'd love to cover anything that you're going through. Of course, this is an interactive podcast. We don't just cover things that we think that will be helpful. We also cover the things that you say would be helpful. So yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. All right, that's all for now.
Ta for now.
In it, shook me, so it's all right. Nice.